Alright, change the audio. There we go. You can hear it now. Actually, I'm going to mute it and I'm going to put different music in the editing. So, you guys, I've been receiving a lot of positivity, positive comments, remarks, and people want to know how can they be as good at Lumian Legacy as me. Personally, I don't feel like I'm that great, but I do win more than half of my battles. That's 100%. That's 100% for sure. I remember being on a win streak of 50 at some point. So, I'm gonna talk about some. I don't know where to start. I think the first thing we should do is do a team. Think about what you want to use. Center your team around something first. For example, this team is centered around Krakaloa. Now, I did kind of just rush putting stuff here. I'm centering the team around the Krakaloa that I'm going to use very soon. Thank you, Darazine, for this Krakaloa, by the way. I will showcase it soon. I kind of forgot to showcase it. So we got Krakaloa here. Now, we need to think about what Krakaloa struggles with. What are common Lumians in the metagame? Now, you guys can go ahead and check out the tier list I made a little while back that also has quite a lot of views right now. 156 for my standard, that's high. So we're going to go check it out here. We're going to ignore the thing at the top, and we're going to go to the very end and see what I put at the top, because I could probably find the tier list somewhere. I just don't know where to find it. Give it some time to load. Give it some time to load. There we go. So, the 9 out of 10s are the common Lumians. 10 out of 10, Avatros isn't common. I just think it looks cool. That one looks cool. Meditode's different. I have no idea how to rank Meditode. I only know it's extremely good. Now, I'll just tell you guys, Meditode is definitely Meditode's a good one. And I think it will be a great partner. And I'm going to talk about Meditode later for like cores or something. So here, common Lumians are things like Obsidragon, Windtrix, Ticlipse, Nevermere's common for sure, Zulong, Barblast, Luminami, Tyrex, Venilin, and Deladrix. Personally, which one of these are the most common? Obsidragon, Windtrix, Ticlipse. And then common ones are Zulong, Venilin, and Tyrex, and Nevermere, and maybe Deladrix. But there are also Lumians that you need to be careful of that may not be as common, but they could completely destroy whatever you're using. So for example, something like Harvestect. It's relatively common, but not super common. However, you need to keep it in mind every time you bring something like, let's say, what struggles a lot with Harva? Wrestling. If you want to use a Wrestling here, you got nothing for Harva. And also, you need to think about like the main sets. What does a Lumian run? Personally, I'm not much of a Krakaloa guy, so I don't actually fully know what Krakaloa runs. However, I think this set makes sense because Krakaloa is great at dealing with fire types. You know what Krakaloa is good against. You want to use the Krakaloa, you want to beat what it's good against. And you know its main job, which also allows you to do the item, and the TPs, and the nature. And I guess the ability, but the ability is usually set in stone for a lot of Lumians. Besides, some Lumians do have specific abilities. Ignore Air Drive here. This is the ability you don't want, Clingy. The one you want is Snagoop. If yours is a secret ability Buck Up one, then of course you run Buck Up. However, now you need to choose what your Snagoop wants to do. Do you want Barter or Poison Barbs? Barter if you want Volcanic Ash, Barter, or do you want it to do Poison Barb stuff? Which is better for your team, Poison Barbs or Barter? Or even some other niche moves, like, who knows? Krakaloa here, its job is to burn up hazards. We want it to be as bulky as possible, and we went for range defense. Melee defense also works. It just depends on what you want it to deal with. Do you want it to deal with Protogon, Ticlipse, or do you want it to deal with Nevermere and stuff like that? And we have a Mysterious Dust because we don't want Krakaloa to be poisoned. If we send it on Poison Barbs, we want to burn up the Poison Barbs and keep Krakaloa around. That's Krakaloa's job. Combustible is the best ability. Krakaloa doesn't have very good abilities. So Combustible is the best one. Now we need to think about what Krakaloa doesn't like. I kind of built this team, rushed it. But I will say Krakaloa, it's a very slow, stally Lumian. I feel like something like Ancient Roar or even Zip Zap Zulong works as a good partner to weaken the opponents and get Krakaloa in, especially since Zulong's good against Lumians that Krakaloa doesn't like electric types, water types. Earth types are definitely a problem right now, which is why we have Snagoop and Deladrix. I made sure to bring 2 just in case I needed both of them, because if like let's say Deladrix dies, we still at least have an immunity. Now you need to make sure there's other Lumians that you struggle with, not specifically Earth types. For example, this team is very weak to Tyrex besides Deladrix. The team is very weak to Tyrex. You need to make no. Just because Krakaloa is a fire type doesn't mean it can beat a metal type like Tyrex or even Stratosaur. You want to be careful. I think that, at least I think this is good advice. I think. You need to also know, Crackaloa can be taken advantage of by either range attackers that don't care about Raging Flame, or things that are immune to Raging Flame. Or Lumians with Mysteriousness. For example, Obsidragon is none of those, but it does have a move called Beast Slumber. I'm assuming most of you know what Beast Slumber is. Beast Slumber, I don't have an Obsidragon. I don't have an Obsidragon. But Obsidragon, it has a move called Beast Slumber, and that heals it. So if the Obsidragon is spamming Drudge, and your Crackaloa is just trying to whittle the Obsidragon down, you're like, hey, we're almost going to kill it. We'll be fine. The Obsidragon just heal back up. The Obsidragon's just going to heal back up. So you need to be very careful around it. Which is also why I have Lumens like Zulong and Protogon. Now we're going to take another Lumian with like an absolute hard counter. Something like Sinogre here. My Sinogre is not running the move Poison. Don't follow this set. Follow the standard set that's Poison over Spectral Burst. Because having Spectral Burst here, I'm vulnerable to Eclipse. And that's, like I said, that's one of the top 3 most common Lumians in my opinion. Eclipse is one of the most common Lumians at the moment, and you want to be able to threaten it. Personally, I don't have much of a switch in besides Crackaloa. And Crackaloa, again, I can get taken advantage of by Eclipse, Scapegoat, and Disperse. So I need to be very careful with this team around Eclipse, such as I have 2 revenge killers for it. Deladrix and Protogon can revenge kill Eclipse in case things get sticky. So even if it sets up the +6 and kills Crackaloa, I can just send Deladrix or Protogon in. This is where Scapegoat becomes a problem. So I do need to be careful. But Scapegoat, you need to think, Scapegoat Eclipse, just how common is that? How often are you going to run into it? You do need to be a little careful for like even rarer things. For example, Metronet rarely runs Flabbergast. It usually runs Hypnotize. I don't know why I said Flabbergast. It's Flabbergast. Metronet rarely runs Flabbergast. It usually uses Hypnotize. So you want to make sure that you want to be careful. For example, you have a Sumo Beetle versus a Metronet and your Sumo Beetle is weakened or the Metronet is boosted. So you're in range of Flabbergast. You need to think, do you want to let Sumo Beetle die to Flabbergast, or do you want to try it? If you're desperate, just try it. If you have no other ways of dealing with it. However, if you do, or if you can afford it, such as you have a Deladrix in the back that can outspeed it with specialty boots, then you can deal with it. Now we're going to go on to another Lumian that can use multiple items. Deladrix. Deladrix here has specialty boots. Now, first off, well, if you're fighting a Deladrix, you need to think, what Deladrix is this? Because there's 2 items Deladrix runs, Clutch Plushie and Specialty Boots. So let's say you've had set up Barbs and weakened the Deladrix. You have a Gargolem attack against it right now. Do you go for the Jetstream and risk getting KO'd by Dows, or do you switch out safely? And I personally, I think if you can, scout for the Deladrix. Scout for whether it's boots. See how they play. This also works against Lumians that run boots like Gargolem Speed and Revenine. Not Gargolem Speed, Gargolem Attack. Now you also need to think. There are some Lumians that have a lot of different sets. For instance, where is it? Where did I leave it? Chartiki, there it is. Chartiki has quite a few sets. It can run Burn Up, it can run Barter, it can run... Oh, that's about it. Huh, I could have sworn Chartiki had more sets. Also, the ability should always be something else. Noxious Weeds or Territorial. In my opinion. So, Chartiki, you definitely need to make sure you... And also, don't use a plan move on the Chartiki. Muck Blast is better. This is where you also think about the Lumian's coverage. This is where the moves, but we'll discuss that later. I think we need to stick to the items. Deladrix, now you need to think about your Deladrix. What does your team need? Does your team need agency? Or does it need speed? Personally, I have fast Lumians. But any offensive Gargolem Speed or Power Cups Gobidemic is going to ruin my day. Or a fast Boots user, like a Boot Snagoop, a Boot Zulong, and the opposing Boot Deladrix, a Boot Gargolem Speed. They're going to crush me. That is why I have Boots Deladrix, to make sure I can deal with most of those. Not all of those, but I can play around some of those. Like a Gargolem Speed, I can have Protogon come in. And even if it goes for Boom Bash, I can go into Sinogre. So yeah, that's how everything goes. Now we're gonna go to Lumia that really does only one thing. Vesperatu. It pretty much only has one set. Sure, you can tweak a little bit things. You can tweak its don't follow these TPs. Oh, that's embarrassing. Vesperatu tends to run max melee attack and speed as far as I know. I'm not sure what else it runs. Also, use a Dark Essence because Vesperado, its job is spamming Slapdown. Vesperado spams Slapdown a lot. And it has Phantom Slash, Shadow Spirit, and Revival as the standard set and the set that almost everyone should be using. Vesperado does have access to Slash now, but that doesn't hit Eclipse that hard. Eclipse is its main counter. It can't damage Eclipse at all. That's why Eclipse is so good. Shadow Sprint is a very powerful revenge killing tool, and so when you see your opponent's team and you know you need something to revenge kill, such as a Whippledrift, then sure, bring the Vesperado, or a Mocho, or a Guardian, something like that. Priority is always important. And if you're like in a battle scenario where you could sacrifice Vesperado and get an easy switch into your Lumian, you need to think, I actually still need Vesperado for their Mocho, or Guardian, or Whippledrift. Those are the 3 main sweepers in the meta. They're not particularly common besides Whippledrift now that it has the buffs, but still. I'm running very brawny on this one. You should... Brawny Nimble is another option. Think about it. It comes down to what you want your Vesperado to do. Do you want it to outspeed base 90-somethings Lumians, like Deladrix, Windtrix, Eclipse, I guess? Or do you want it to just hit as hard as possible, and the speed's doesn't matter as much to you? That comes down to what you think. And also, do you want the minus range defense from Foolish? Alright, so that's what Vesperado does. Now we're gonna go on to building a team. So let me pull out a random Lumian. Let me just put these away. Do I have any PC space to put these guys away? I might have just enough PC space. I might have just enough. Okay, wait, we'll just leave Deladrix there. Let's say we want to center the team around. Let me choose a random Lumian. Who do we want to center the team around? Let's center it around Mauermerk. A very interesting Lumian. Mauermerk, it has set variety potentially, but oh, don't follow this. Run the God, what was it? The one that boosts range defense. Run a very bulky Mauermerk. That'll work for you. And run a spread similar to this. Although maybe less melee attack. Mauermerk here. This is the main set. Mega Chomp and Aqua Jaws hits everything it needs to. Obviously you can run Plant Stab, but you don't need to. Mega Chomp is all you need. Oh, hi. People are here. People are here. Hi. So, you need to think, how do I let Mauermerk set up safely? How do I get Mauermerk in to start bulking up? How do I deal with Mauermerk's threats? Now, we need to think. First off, toxic types. Our Mauermerk is quad weak to toxic. It's also weak to bug. So, how do we deal with those? Toxic and bug types. We do have a Lumian that can resist toxic and bug, Revenine. However, Revenine doesn't exactly fit well with Mauermerk because it's a revenge killer. Mauermerk's a sweeper, so those two don't really go together. Because revenge killers are supposed to kill after your thing dies. But Mauermerk's just going to sweep the whole team anyways. At least that's the plan for Mauermerk. So we need to think, how do we deal with Mauermerk? It's also weak to dark. What would be a good Lumian to deal with toxic, bug, and dark? I'm actually trying to think right now. What's good? Toxic, bug, dark. Toxic, bug, dark. We could also deal with those slowly, but that takes up team slots. I think a... Man, he really wants to talk to me. Toxic, bug, and dark. A good choice would be Swolder. Swolder has many things that can help with Mauermerk here. Making a video. Swolder goes well with Mauermerk in multiple ways. First off, poison. It can weaken Lumians. Oh, Swolder actually goes into hind legs now. That's cool. They changed Swolder's model. Poison. It can poison Mauermerk. And not poison Mauermerk. Poison things so that Mauermerk can bulk up while they die. Or at least limit Mauermerk's threats' lives, except for toxic types. Swolder can deal with a lot of the Lumians that Mauermerk doesn't like. Vesperado, a dark type, we can switch in with the melee defensive set. I don't think you should be running Nimble, but if you want to, you can. And then parasitize it to death. It'll work. So yeah, you can do that. You can also deal with other threats that Mauermerk has, like a toxic type. You're immune to poison. You can absorb poison barb that Mauermerk also hates. I think Swolder works as a great partner. It's a melee tank as well, which works well because Mauermerk is a range tank. So you can switch in. It's kind of similar to the Vent core, the notorious stall core. That I'm not sure if it's still a thing, but it could be. Now we need to think about other threats, or what else could just help. I think a good choice here would be potentially a wall breaker would help. I'm not too sure. A wall breaker could help though. Or we could use something like Zulong. I think Zulong works well because pivoting with Ancient Roar. We could use Ancient Roar on one of Malmberg's big threats. Or we could have this something like this happen. We can let's say they switch into Tyrex. We can just Ancient Roar. Even if it doesn't switch in, we can just Ancient Roar and then go into the Malmberg that will destroy Tyrex. So that's the plan. Now, we're still not perfect. There are some Lumians that can really threaten the team. Metronet, for instance. Metronet can beat Swolder if it has Flabbergast. Other Lumias like what else? Let's say Swolder goes down. Let's say something like a Halvantic is able to hit Swolder a couple times enough to KO the Swolder. Also, Halvantic should run Baneful Bash. I can't pronounce it. So we want something that can take over from Swolder's job in case. Or something that maybe can... I mean, a Revenge Killer could work for this, but maybe we want something that can threaten those things first. You just need to think of your playstyle. You want to apply enough pressure so that those things struggle to get in to overwhelm Swolder? I think something like a Barb's Lumian would work well. I think a Lumian like... a Barbing Lumian. Okay, I think something like Seer Knight would be a nice fit for the team. Because Seer Knight has Terrifying, weaken opponents, and then it can do all kinds of things. Barbs, it can... Well, it can threaten Dark types as well. And it's also bulky, so that works well. A range tanky, Terrifying Seer Knight is good. Now, there's still other Lumians that could threaten the team. But so far, the team's making a good core. Let's say something like this happens. A Snagoop is trucking through your team. And then Jetstream lowers your Zulong speed and you die to Muck Blast. You need to make sure you're not dead to Snagoop. You just want to... Basically, we just want to check all the threats. Something like Wind Tricks. Then like a sweeping Wind Tricks. You could go for a nice little Wind Tricks here. And you can have this strategy where if one sweeper dies, the other one can just come in. So Maramurk a pair of other sweepers to like deal with opponents. Especially since Windtrix and Maramurk do have a decent relations in terms of typing. Like, not fully, but kind of. Windtrix can threaten bug types. Maramurk can threaten the fire types. Now we need to think of other Lumians. What last two Lumians would work? I think the first thing that would work might be just a little more security, but also something that could potentially set up more stuff for us, like poison barbs or icicle traps. I'm thinking a Snagoop would be a decent fit because Snagoop, oh, this is Mr. Snaggy, the very clumsy one. You could run something like Snagoop to set poison barbs up for you, provoke opponents so your Maramurk can have easier setup. Oh, I'm not noticing another thing. Maramurk's kind of vulnerable to provoke. So, you could run something that can switch into the provoke. Namely, a certain very common Lumian. I'm not a Eclipse user. And if you don't want to use Eclipse, you could just switch in an all-out attacker against a provoker. For example, what would provoke you? A Zeppelin. Let's say a Zeppelin. You just have something that can switch into a Zeppelin. For instance, this team does struggle to switch in a little bit if Windtrix gets kind of clapped. You could just have a Stratosaur to eat it up. Now, you'll notice this team has 3 air types, which is kind of an issue. And your team kind of gets destroyed by electric types. Melee electric types. For instance, a Halvantic, once Swolder dies, you're gonna struggle. So maybe relieve some stress up, like remove Snagoop. You'll lose the option of poison barbs, but you're able to get more agency against Halvantic. Or you can run both if you're able to find a poison barbs user that can threaten something like Halvantic that you're worried about. Let me think. What would be a good fit? Ooh, we could try something like Phage Knot with Teardown. However, the issue with adding Phage Knot to the team is that it's another electric type. However, it and Zulong are very different electric types. Phage Knot's job is bulky, strong, and decently fast. And it doesn't excel in any of those, but it can. It depends on what Phage Knot set you want. Personally, for this team, I'm thinking a support Teardown set would be good. A Teardown support set with like kind of like this, but with more bulk investment rather than offensive investment. Something like this would work. And probably a nimble or robust personality. And as for Zulong, It is an offensive one. Zulong is it's purely offensive lumian and a pivot. So that's what you want Zulong to do. So let's say this is the team we settle on. It's probably not going to be the team we settle on, but it could be. Alright, let's see. I'm going to get SA Munch Wheel on camera. Dang it. Now we want to start giving items. We want Marowmark to last as long as possible, so we need the Health Amulet item for it. I think Health Amulet is definitely the primary Marowmark item. So where did I leave my Health Amulet? I left it on Sinogre. So let's just give Sinogre the Health Amulet. Now we want, since Swolder's job is to take melee hits as well as possible, we're giving it a heavy armor. Energy is going to be an issue, but it's okay. We're going to be fine. And also, if you think that Baneful Bash doesn't hit what you want it to, since you want Swolder to check Toxic types so that legs are back up, then you can run a different move to chip Toxic types, like maybe Mega Chomp or something. I believe Swolder learns Mega Chomp. Now Zulong, you might want the burst of power from something like an Archaic Shell, or you want the speed from Specialty Boots. For instance, this team really does not have enough speed, so let's say you run a very smart Zulong with boots. I think that's a good fit for the team. The issue is, it's not as flexible with pivoting. So that could be an option, but you could also simply go for Ancient Essence for consistent ancient damage, or an Archaic Shell if you want a burst of damage. Seer Knight. Seer Knight's meant to tank and set barbs up, so we could run a Milkshake on it to let it last longer. If you want a more offensive Seer Knight, I don't think that fits well with the team. I think the team needs a little more Marowmark support. Now, for the Wintrix is supposed to be another sweeper. Wintrix generally just use an Ice Essence. Just run the Ice Essence on it. If you're worried about getting swept, use the Mysterious Dust. Personally, I think for this team, Mysterious Dust, however, would work a little better on Phage Knot. Phage Knot here is supposed to tear down. So similar to the Krakaloa we mentioned earlier, we want to remove the hazards. So we're going to remove the hazards with the Phage Knot there. Now, the other two, I'm going to run the Frost Shell since I don't have an Ice Essence. And I'm not buying one for the video. And as for the Stratosaur, you can choose what you want to do. Stratosaur has a lot of options. I'm running this set, but this is definitely not a good set. You can obviously change your Stratosaur to something else, depending on what you want Strat to do, of course. Now, for this, I want Stratosaur to be a little more range tanky, so I'm going to give it the Heavy Shield. There's plenty of options you can use on Stratosaur. There are plenty of options, like a Volt Pearl if you're worried about some electric. If you're worried about random electric moves, for instance, this team is actually quite weak to electric, so I'm gonna run the Volt Pearl. Alright, now let's actually hop into a battle and see how well this team can work. Let's see, and I'm gonna show you guys how to play in a battle. I'll just pause. If you're new to PvP, don't do what I just done and fought a level Mastery 93 person. Now, we need to scout what their team is, what everything's gonna do. What I'm seeing, Celestine sets up barbs, and they have multiple sweepers in Samarine, Wintrix, and Master Gargolem. And Dieberg to cripple, Tatap as a wall breaker, and Eclipse as generally good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and anti-lead the Celestine and match barbs with my Seer Knight. And the rest of the team, I want Wintrix for Gargolem, Stratosaur for Gargolem, Zulong, and Marowmark as our sweeper. Now after that, I'm realizing I kind of want Phage Knot to tank. So I'm going to go Phage Knot over Zulong, and I'm going to bring Swolder over one of the air types, because I want more melee bulk, and I want a Stratosaur check. And since I think that, not Stratosaur, Tatap. And since I think Wintrix can leave, since, sure, it's quad effective against Gargolem, but it has no bulk anyway, so a Jet Stream from Stratosaur should be enough. Now, they end up leading with Wintrix. This is still a good lead for us regardless, though. We can get Barbs over Seer Knight here. This is easy Barbs opportunity for us. Wintrix cannot do much to Seer Knight. Now, you might be tempted. This is super effective damage. I want to hit it. But you need to think about the long term. In the long run, you want to get the Barbs up and have the Barbs weaken their team. Overall, over the course of a match, it will do more. You also need to pay attention to whether they have hazard removal. For instance, this team does not, besides Gust Wintrix, which Gust Wintrix is a very niche set, but if they are Gust Wintrix, we get more information and we realize Wintrix will not clap our team if it's that set. So they send in Samarine. Samarine does not get a rev up boost yet, but it's not meant to this turn. Now, what do we have that can deal with Samarine? Right now, we have multiple options. We have Bulk Up Marowmark. However, it might be too early to send Marowmark in. And we know Swolder is very bulky. So I'm going to send Swolder in Because I think that Swolder can deal... This is one of the Lumians that Swolder's meant to deal with. Swolder's job is to deal with the melee attackers. It goes for Thunder Chomp. Okay, clearly the Samarine is predicting something. We get the webbing drop. That does not matter. They have rev up. So now we know they're rev up instead of any other ability. You need to pay attention to this. If you want, you can grab something such as a notepad to keep track of their team. So I'm going to grab a notepad and take note. Samarine, rev up, Thunder Chomp. We're going to pay attention to that. It's not necessary, but it's fine. And we're also going to take note of them having wind tricks. Now, do we go for the Baneful Bash? Personally, I think Baneful Bash is an alright play. Poison might be better though. You need to think, what do you want to catch? In the end, they switched to Diborg. So neither Baneful Bash nor Poison was the right play. Diborg happens to not have the tank ability, so I'm assuming we're just gonna assume, since Diborg tends to be this, we're gonna assume its ability is Handy, which is the secret ability that makes non-damaging moves go first, like Hypnotize and Barter, which is what Diborg would run. Now, I'm expecting Diborg to go for a Hypnotize this turn. Swolder, do we want... Now, we need to think. Should we let Swolder go to sleep or not? I'm going to go for the wait, since I'm going to let Swolder be my Sleep Fodder or my Barter Absorber. However, it goes for Muck Blast. Okay, that confused me. It went for Muck Blast immediately. That doesn't make sense. Alright, so if it's going to go for Muck Blast, we need to think. Who do we send in now? This is a threat to Maramurk. We want to eliminate Maramurk threats. That's another thing you should do at team building. Know what threatens your Maramurk. So, do I send in Seonite since my Seonite has some range defense TPs? Or do I go into Phage Knot to threaten this harder? Since I think Seonite's health is more important, and Phage Knot has both the Mysterious Dust and the ability to heal with Rejuvenate, I'm going to send in the Phage Knot. Now, I do need to remember what they have. They have a Tatap and a... Okay, they end up bartering. That is bad. That's not good because they remove my heavy... They give me heavy shackles, making me slow. Now we need to see, do we expect Tatap or Gargolem? Personally, I'm going to expect Gargolem since I don't think a Tatap would easily switch into a Power Draw, since they don't know whether I'm the overcharged ability or not. However, they see I have Mysterious Dust, so chances are they know I'm Malware and a more defensive one, even though I technically have range attack TPs. They end up going for the Poison, so they're definitely afraid of Phage Knot. So I definitely should have Power Draw there. However, this does give us a free switch in to something. I'm going to go with Seonite, since Seonite should be able to easily Flaming Kick. The issue with Seonite, though, is that we're going to get hit with a Poison, most likely, if they have to sack Diborg. Do we allow that to happen? Or do we go back into Swolder to absorb the Poison? What I'm going to do here is, I don't want Jerry getting poisoned, so I'm going to switch back into Swolder first. If your Stratosaur has Toxic Filter, go Stratosaur. It's more threatening to the Diborg. I don't have Toxic Filter. So it ended up going for Provoke. Since I thought I was going to go for more barbs, which is interesting to me. So here I'm going to just hit a Parasitize, grab my healing, and try and kill the Diborg. We're just going to try and eliminate Diborg slowly with Swolder. You need to think, this is the safer play. They end up making the switch out into the Wind Tricks. Now, Wind Tricks threatens us, of course, but we still have Seonite and Stratosaur to deal with it. Now, do we go into Seonite or Stratosaur? What I'm going to do here is, while I could send Maramurk in, I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to go Stratosaur. So this is a bit of a slower game here. We're playing slowly. I'm going to go into Stratosaur because Stratosaur can take all of Wind Tricks as hits easily. There's Stratosaur. They go for the Frost Beam. So now we know they're not Brain Freeze. So they have... It's a little worse for us since Frost Beam is stronger. It does a lot, but that's more because my Stratosaur is not very trained. At all. We're going to go for the Taze. We're going to paralyze the Wind Tricks or anything switching in. Taze is 100% going to paralyze since they have no electric types and Gargolem does not switch in. They end up sending in Samarine, which is a very good scenario for us. This is quite effective, so it's going to do some damage. And we get a paralysis, so even after some boost, it's not going to do well. Taze ends up not doing much, which you can expect. So now that Samarine's been paralyzed, we now have to make a choice. Do we go into Phage Knot to try and kill it? What are they going to do? We'll see. So we're going to make the... We could also send Maramurk in. I think that now might be the time to send Maramurk in. We've seen a bit more of their team. We've seen Wind Tricks. They have shown they have Diborg. However, I'm not remembering. They have Diborg. So no, I'm going back into Swolder. We need to remove Diborg first before Maramurk even comes onto the field. Because Maramurk just allows Diborg to come in for free. Unless we can KO it. It looks like they might have switched into Wind Trick, expecting Smolder. This is definitely a nice play that you can do yourselves. Prediction. This time I'm gonna switch in. I'm gonna continue switching into Stratosaur, but this time I want Stratosaur to stay healthy, so I'll click Perch. If Stratosaur gets KO'd, that's bad, of course. Of course, that is bad. Let's see. Frost Beam. Will it KO me next turn? It will. Do I want to keep Stratosaur alive? Personally, I don't think it's worth keeping Stratosaur alive at this point. Instead, I'll just go for the Reflection Burst. However, they end up switching, so it's proven that I should have clicked Perch. However, they send Diborg in, so I have a chance to try weakening Diborg a little bit more. Reflection Burst is going to do a little bit of damage. Now we're going to go for the Perch. They should not click any Toxic moves, since I do have Toxic... Since they should fear Toxic Filter if they were smart. We also need to pay attention to our energy. They end up going for the Muck Blast, which does poison me, unfortunately. So at this point, Stratosaur's been poisoned. Diborg's almost out of energy. At this point, I'm just going to go for the Jet Stream and try and kill the Diborg. Diborg ends up going for Provoke to stop me from perching. I'm not going for Perch though, since I want the Diborg dead. Diborg is now forced to rest. So I'm going to click... Okay, we have... Do we rest alongside Diborg or do we go for the Tase? I think we're going to Tase and then heal. He ends up waiting, which makes sense because he wasn't... If he rested, he would have died. So we're going to go for the Tase. It's not going to kill, but now it's paralyzed. So we have the potential to get rid of Diborg with Maramurk. However, Diborg happened to be Mysterious Dust, which it took from Phage Knot, which we forgot. Don't make that play. Remember what the Diborg has. I didn't pay attention because I didn't write on my notepad. I'm gonna write now. Mug Blast, Provoke, and Barter. And I don't remember. I don't think it revealed its final move yet. Now we're gonna simply send Phage Knot in. We can KO this, and Diborg can't really do anything to Phage Knot. The safe play is always the Flash and Flee. You always want to make the safe play. Power Draw, sure, but Flash and Flee is safer. Diborg, unfortunately, is faster than us, so it's able to chip down Phage Knot. And unfortunately, it died even when it had no energy. So that was a bad play on my part. Here, I want to send Searknight out. I'm going to send Searknight in. I can always send Solar in if they go Samarine, which is also poisoned. And I can threaten the Wintrix. If I go Swolder, I invite in Wintrix, which is not good because I don't really want to send Searknight in immediately. However, they go Gargolem. This is where we regret sacking our Stratosaur, which was meant to deal with this. And now we are at risk of being swept, but not entirely. What I'm gonna do here is switch directly into Maramurk. We don't know whether this is a mix or a pure range attacking Gargolem, but we can switch this in. And it reveals mix, which is not good. However, we clearly are able to take the hits. We can clearly take the hits. Now, he has to choose. Is he going to Dark Surge or is he going to switch? Chances are he's going to switch. So I'm going to click Aqua Jaws. Lower the defense or whatever switches in. He doesn't have an easy way of handling Maramurk at the moment. He chooses to send Wintrix in, which is okay with us, but not perfect. So we're going to grab the Aqua Jaws here. It's not going to KO Wintrix, but it's going to be close. Wintrix is forced to perch. Do we switch and let it perch? Because we don't want Maramurk to stay in, that's for sure. What I'm going to do here is... Phage Knot is a risky play. If we send Phage Knot in and he goes for Frost Beam, not Brain Freeze, he has Frost Beam, we're in trouble. So the play I'm going to make is I'm going to send Searknight in and go for a Searing Steel. Barbs aren't as necessary anymore. I want to hit the Gargolem if it switches in. So I'm going to go for Searing Steel. That is the play I'm going to make. He chooses to Frost Beam. That is fine. Searknight quad resist that. Never mind, 2-time resist that. Does that... Is it quad resist? Is that a quad resist? I feel like that was still alive. That was neutral. So we're going to go for the Searing Steel. He chooses to either sacrifice Wintrix or believe that Wintrix can handle my Searknight. So I'm going to go for the Searing Steel. Wintrix is forced to rest, which means we've basically eliminated Wintrix. We do simply KO Wintrix, however, so I should have Barb there. But this is okay. This is perfectly fine. Because now I can... Now he's going to go Gargolem, however. And now he might make the Dark Surge prediction against us. He sends Gargolem in. We don't know what his set is. We don't know if he's Boots. We don't know if he's Clutch Plushie. We don't know if he's Random Power Cuffs. So we're going to switch into Maramurk here. Chances are he will click the Dark Surge here. He ends up clicking Boom Bash instead. So we can now safely assume he doesn't have Dark Surge. So Maramurk here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to Photosynth... No, I think Now we need to choose. Do we photosynthesize to heal or do we aqua jaws? I think health ambulance is enough recovery for us to last. I do risk hitting myself, however, by doing this. He switches into Samarine, which is potentially annoying. However, I can set up against it. I am still dazed. I don't hit myself, however, and I get an aqua jaws here. Doesn't matter too much, but it's okay. It's fine. We lower the melee defense. Now I want to check. How many lumian does he have left? 3. So it's Samarine, Gargolem, and 1 other lumian. Samarine here, we have 2 choices. We can stay in and start bulking up, or we can go Swolder. Instead, I'm gonna go for... Actually, I'm gonna make a different play. I'm gonna go Phage Knot. The reason for this is because there's no way he's clicking a water move this turn. You definitely click Sharpen, Thunder Chomp, not Steel Crusher probably. So instead, I'm gonna go into Phage Knot on the Thunder Chomp, get rid of his Rev Up ability because I may as well. And I'm gonna Flash and Flee here because I'm thinking at this point they probably didn't bring Tatab. However, they might try to kill me. So I'm thinking, what's the play? Is he gonna go Gargolem or not? I think he won't, so I'm gonna Power Draw. He ends up going for Plunge, which means that it's not great for me. So I think here we just sacrifice Phage Knot. It's okay. We can sack Phage Knot. We can let Phage die. He ends up getting through both turns of paralysis, which is unfortunate. We're gonna go into Swolder. Swolder is a dangerous play because it invites in Mauermerk. However, not in Mauermerk, Gargolem. But we're gonna go into Swolder regardless. Swolder here is able to KO the Samarine with Baneful Bash. We're gonna go for it. Mauermerk can always switch in on Gargolem. However, it appears he's made a hard switch into Eclipse, which is actually a very good scenario for us. Swolder can handle Eclipse. We have super effective stab for it. We're gonna go for the Parasitize this turn. Swolder is low on energy. That is a primary concern of ours. So we definitely, however, we can always just wait or rest against the Samarine. The Samarine isn't threatening to Swolder in the slightest. Goes for the Raging Howl, which does a lot to Swolder. So we're gonna need to be careful with Swolder now to make sure it can still check the Samarine. Here I'm thinking to myself, I probably should have let Searite handle Eclipse. Eclipse ends up surviving on a tiny little slither. So chances are it's gonna click Raging Howl again. So I'm gonna switch into Searite to absorb that and let it die to the recoil. If it goes for a different move, however, that would be unfortunate. We're gonna Terrifying, not that it matters. He ends up going for a Raging Howl, which is best case scenario since he definitely dies. Crit is unnecessary though. That's an unfortunate crit. We are now at a mild risk of getting swept by Gargolem and Samarine, but not a huge risk. However, he randomly sends Samarine in, and I believe that my Searite outspeeds. My only concern is I don't think my Searite KOs him. So what I'm gonna do here, I think we're gonna switch to Swolder. We're gonna send in Swolder. Swolder can wait, like I said. If he switched to Gargolem, that's dangerous. He gets a full paralysis, which is okay with me. Not a big problem. I'm gonna go for the wait. I don't want to take too much damage on my Swolder. We're gonna wait. He's going to hit the Plunge. Since he plunged, we can heal now with Rejuvenate, so that Swolder can continuously check Samarine. However, that means our energy is in danger. So instead, I'm gonna click wait again. I should have rested turn 1, but I didn't know he would plunge. It's not my problem. Swolder's getting low, unfortunately, and now it's actually in range of Samarine. So let's see. Is Samarine gonna break through the paralysis? Let's see. Is it gonna break through? Samarine breaks through. Miss. So that's very good for us. Samarine missing that means that officially, I believe Mauermerk should be able to beat the Gargolem. So, yeah, we played well that battle. Swolder's job was to deal with Samarine, which is why we continuously kept Swolder alive. And we knew that Searite was overall decent at checking him. We're not going to hard switch into Murnerd this time. We're not going to hard swap. We're just going to go for the Parasitize. Jetstream is going to KO us. However, Mauermerk can definitely live a +1 Jetstream. It gets +1. However, I'm pretty sure this is Boots. Now, this could be a misplay going into Searite here, but I'm pretty sure this is Boots. I'm going to go into Searite because I'm pretty sure this is Boots, meaning it's locked into Jetstream, and I'm now realizing I don't resist Jetstream. Okay, there's a potential I just threw the battle. There's a possibility I just entirely threw the battle. Now we're going to see. Does it have enough energy? I think it does. So, another Jetstream. I may have thrown the battle by going Searite. However, it revealed that it went for Boom Bash, meaning it's not specialty boost like we thought it was. So this is where we had the potential to lose the game if he has Dark Surge. He didn't have Dark Surge earlier. His best hope right now, if he doesn't, is the Boom Bash and hope I get... Or hope I miss Aqua Jaws, because I'm going to go for Aqua Jaws, because I'm not sure if Mega Chomp KOs. He goes for the Jet Stream, and Marowak survives. That was okay, so that was a close one, but I was confident in Marowak's ability to handle Gargolem. Him not having Dark Surge that battle helped us. So, that is how we do it. We knew Swolder's job, we knew Stratosaur, Sacrifice. We let it die a little too early. We should have brought either Windtrace or kept Stratosaur healthier. However, that battle definitely was definitely ideal to show how you should play. So, hope you all enjoyed this video, guys. Hope you all learned something from me. Leave a like, everybody. Subscribe. Let me know what you want to see me do in the future. And have a good day, everybody. Good luck at PvP.